It's Freedom Fighter Radio coming to you live from the heart of the Great White North, the heart of the true North. Strong and free apologies to all of our regular listeners that we're starting off a little late. All right, sorry we got a apologies for the echo there. Uh, just dealing with some technical issues. Apologies to our special guests waiting the backstage. We're about to get ready here. So, folks, uh, share, tag your friends. We're about to get started here. There you go. I think we are ready to go. All right, sorry. All right, Freedom Fighter Radio coming to you live from the heart of the Great White North. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. I'm coming to you live from the Eastern Standard Time Zone. It's 5:45 p.m. We're 15 minutes late. I apologize to our special guests and to all our regular listeners. As you know, we have technical issues from time to time. But without much further ado, let me get ready my dashboard. Our special guest tonight is the founder and the president of Lawyers for Truth, a freedom fighting lawyer organization from the city of Calgary. Katherine is the founder of Lawyers for Truth, based in Alberta, a group of freedom fighting lawyers across Canada who are standing on guard for our rights and freedoms. In 2021, Lawyers for Truth sued the courts called the Alberta Queen's Bench, now the King's Bench, for mask mandates that prevented lawyers from attending courts proceedings and fighting for their clients if they don't comply with the mask mandates, regardless of exemption. Katherine also was the only contender versus Pastor Arthur Pawlowski to bid for the leadership seat of the Alberta Independence Party. After this friendly contest for leadership and conceding to Pastor Art as the new leader of the party, shows continuous support for the party under the leadership of Pastor Art, and is running for an MLA seat under this party banner for her riding. My introduction has been jumbled up. Apologies, folks. So, I'm Ordinary Joe. Tonight's guest is Katherine Kowalchuk. This is Freedom Fighter Radio, coast to coast. Let's get this show started right now.
Freedom Fighter Radio, what is up? Whoa!
Shout out to Freedom Fighter Radio. And Joe, you're doing great work, brother, and I love it. All right, always.
Make sure you listen to the Freedom Fighter Radio on the Ordinary Show.
I'm on Freedom Fighter Radio on the Ordinary Joe Show. That's quite a mouthful.
Yes. Hey guys, this is Chris Sky. Listen to Freedom Fighter Radio. They're here today, back in the blue, and so am I.
Please consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app, only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
She is running for the seat of MLA in her riding from Calgary, Alberta. She also founded Lawyers for Truth, and she is the leader. She was the contender for the leadership of Alberta Independence Party. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Katherine Kowalchuk.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for
Hello,
having me.
Katherine. Thank you for joining us in the Freedom Fighter Radio. I apologize for starting late here and deal with some
No
technicals.
problem.
How are you
No
doing?
problem. I'm good. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. I'm okay now. The technical issues is more of the biological technical issues that we're experiencing today, but things are better thanks to sugar cubes, a great invention. Catherine, so we had you on with the Freedom Panel just about 2 weeks ago, and
Mhm.
today we are going to talk about your run for what's the name of your riding again, sir?
It's actually Olds-Didsbury-Three Hills. I last year around this time in April, I moved from Calgary to a small village, actually,
Hmm.
about an hour or so outside of the city of Calgary, and so I'm running in this riding.
It's called Olds. So what's that?
Didsbury,
Didsbury
Olds-Didsbury-Three Hills.
Three Hills. Olds-Didsbury-Three Hills. Sounds like three used to be three different writing that they're put into one, or this is just the name of it.
I'm not really sure what happened with that, but it's a very large riding. It's a rural riding, and it covers an expansive part of the province. But I think it represents about 36,000 people in Alberta.
Wow, 36,000 in the writing. Okay, so that was my first question. How big was the writing? But let me give you a couple of minutes and talk about, yeah, for your opening statement, talk about your run for this seat and give us a background. What is the election temperature like is in Alberta, and who are your contenders? Is it the NDP contender or the UCP contender that is the most a leading
Mhm.
that you need to contend with? And so let me give the floor to you. Give us the entire picture.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'm running against the UCP candidate, Nathan Cooper. Nathan Cooper is the uh, leader, or sorry, the speaker of the legislature at this time. Like I said, he's
Mm,
with the UCP party. I'm not familiar with if there is an NDP candidate or what other candidates are running in the riding at this time. And I chose to do this because it was becoming clear to me through the legal advocacy that I was doing and reviewing the cases during the lockdowns and the last 3 years that our courts were not going to get us through this, and that uh, they were not standing up for rights and freedoms of individuals, and neither were our governments. And so when we are faced with a situation where all three levels of our government, the executive, legislative, and judicial branch, are failing Albertans, I thought the only plausible way to have an effect on making positive change on behalf of particularly my constituents here, or the constituents here in this riding, but for all Albertans, was to get involved in becoming a lawmaker.
mhm,
And so I've decided to take a run at the MLA position. If you believe the polling
mm,
right now, or last week, I believe I saw some polling that demonstrates that the NDP and the UCP provincially are pretty close. I'm
mhm,
not too sure how accurate that polling is, but um, in my riding, for instance, there was a significantly low turnout last election by the NDP
mm,
um, candidate. The UCP candidate, Nathan Cooper, ended up overwhelmingly winning the seats, and I think he got around 23,000 votes, and the NDP only got about, I would say, 2,500 to 3,000. I don't know the exact number. So my conservatives, my riding is very conservative, and it's great to hear for me because I hold conservative values. I believe in traditional family values, and
mm,
I've been very outspoken about that. I am a Christian, but I am very practical in terms of what I believe. I believe fiscally and in regards to social issues as well. And I hope to bring that to the campaign in my riding. I believe it's really important that we have a different voice in
Mhm.
government, one voice that is not part of the mainstream narrative, and that it's important now more than ever to elect independent candidates that are prepared and able to challenge the government narrative, hold them accountable, actually ensure that the right information, truthful information, is brought back to the constituents in the riding, and that their voices are heard. As a speaker, Mr. Cooper was not able, he alleges, to properly advocate for the constituents in this riding, claiming that he needed to remain impartial. But given the extraordinary circumstances that we were under for the last 3 years in particular, I really question that, because I think it's incumbent upon any elected official to stand up for their constituents and their riding, and just
Mhm.
generally. And I believe that, given the severity of what we've all been through for the last 3 years, that these MLAs, regardless of their position in government, had a moral authority or obligation, and their authority under as sitting MLAs, to properly advocate and call out the corruption, the deception, and that the residents were facing. And none of the elected officials did that.
Okay. Um, do not forget to unmute myself. Because I'm starting to talk and I realize, oh, there's the indicator not showing my voice. Catherine, I would like to, on our Q&A, I would like to kind of get rid of the big elephant in the room that just happened 2 days ago. And we scheduled this interview, I think, about more than a week ago. And
Yeah.
Pastor Art just went on Twitter, made a big announcement that the board of the Alberta Independence Party has kicked him out on his birthday. On what date was that? Just 28th, the 2 days ago. So, Independence Alberta Party, according to Pastor Art, was infiltrated by woke operatives, and those who were trying to silence him told him that he is being kicked out of the party because of some of the free speech that he was exercising. What is the status of the Alberta Independence Party now? And I heard of something that's going to happen this Saturday. Is it a referendum to fire certain board members who fired Pastor Art? I know that the claim was the Alberta Independence Party was a very small party before you and many of those who are freedom fighters got on board with the party. This party is only in the size of hundreds of members, but now you are in the thousands. And that is because we believe that people were attracted to freedom fighters such as you and Pastor Art and Bob Leon, who you introduced me to. What is the status of the party? What's going to happen from this point forward? Are you
Mhm.
going to stay with the party? Are you going to be independent as well? What is the current temperature there at the Independence Party of Alberta?
Well, certainly, you're correct. The board did decide to revoke Archer's membership. It was done for a myriad of reasons. I completely disagree with the post that Pastor Art put out on Twitter. I did read that. It was not spearheaded by some sort of transgender motivation or conspiracy theory. That is a lie.
Hmm.
And I have to say that because I know, and I'm not going to pretend that that's not true.
Okay.
Um, and the reality was, of course, I'm not on the board, and I had no input into the decision. When I came back to the party in the beginning of March, um, I had no idea the extent of what had been going on within the party. My motivation was to join the party because I had spent a year previous leading up to my decision to rejoin the party to run as an MLA candidate for them, because of the relationships and the people that I had developed and met over the last year in my riding in particular. And they were integral to not only supporting me then, but supporting me now as well. And that continues to be the case. Unfortunately, this decision was made. A posting was just released by the board of the Independence Party now on Facebook, and you can probably find it on their website as well. But
Was it only today?
It just came out. Yeah, I just saw it on Facebook before I jumped on here with you. And it's my understanding, and I witnessed some of this myself, that Artur was not acting in the best interests of the party, and he had been a part of not wanting. The main part, which I understand had been an issue for a number of months leading up to this decision, was that he refused to promote the party platform despite requests from the board to do so. And as his job description as set out in the bylaws states, his sole job is to promote the party policy and platform. He'll now characterize that as, and he has been characterizing that as, being muzzled, that they did not want him to speak about God or his story. That is not true. That I understand that did not happen. In fact, they wanted him to elaborate and use the party platform in conjunction with his message. So that is what I understand happened with the board. But in addition, what I saw occur over this past weekend in particular was very troubling for me as a leader of the party, who is sole job and fiduciary duty is to the party as a director and officer of the party. He was selling his merchandise for another movement that he is a part of at party events. He was soliciting funds for his church at party events. He openly stated on more than one occasion that he would not work for the party, at all. He had accused the party of, or members or parts of the party, I believe the board insinuated with the board that the board was stealing money from him. There are a number of things that factor into this that people need to be aware of, because this party, the people on the board now, are people of integrity, and they did not make this decision in haste. They reviewed a myriad of information that was available and that they had been witnessing over a number of months. Both he and Bob Leone, unfortunately, just a few weeks ago, unilaterally, without any input from the party, banned Dr. Daniel Nagasi from the stage of TIP. For TIP is the Independence Party. They said that he was no longer going to be able to be a speaker at any of our events. And, our bylaws are really are clear about the constituency association's authority within the party, and that is that they decide what they are going to do and what speakers they are going to have present information. And he did that unilaterally in conjunction with Bob Leone, unfortunately. And all this is coming to light, and it's really sad, because Artur and Bob are two people that I had great respect for, and I just wish and I hope that people understand that that there's always another side. And what I'm seeing right now is absolute vitriol on behalf of Pastor Art, who I thought was, a man of integrity, and he's now slandering not only members of the board, but he's also slandering myself.
Hmm.
And I've asked him to stop.
I didn't
And
hear any. I didn't hear him address you as well. In some of the videos that came out, was this just happened that he?
this was just recently. I just watched a video that he did with Brad Kerrigan. And Brad Kerrigan is he was very instrumental in organizing and leading rallies, especially during the first part of the lockdowns. And this, it's very troubling. And when a person who is a leader of the party signs up to be the leader of the party, they ought to know what the job description entails. And my question would be to Art, if you had no intentions of working for the party, why did you even bother running for the party? And it's a very challenging circumstance that we're under right now. There is an AGM that will be held this Saturday in Edmonton, and a new board will be elected in. There's an active campaign to buy Art, and Bob have both launched an active campaign encouraging people not to vote for certain members of the board. And that's, I guess, within their purview. It's part of their strategy that they're employing. But people need to know that this decision by the board was made because not only were they allowed to make this decision under the board, they made this decision to protect the reputation of the party and really had the best interests of the members at heart. So it is very sad what is occurring, and I hope that people can use their critical thinking skills when they're provided with this information, and know that this is causing great division, obviously, in the party. And I do hope that we can recover from it. And my intention, in terms of whether or not I continue with the party or go out on my own, will be decided after the AGM on Saturday.
On Saturday.
So
AGM means
So annual
general
general meeting.
meeting.
So I
So,
just,
Pastor, yeah,
there's two sides here. And Art has this celebrity status that he's concocted for himself, and he's but one person. The party is made up of many members, volunteers that have given their time, money, effort towards the success of this party. I can tell you, when after the leadership election, there was about 1,500 members, and there's only about 3,000 members now. So yeah, the party has grown, but for Art to be claiming that he is the sole reason for that is egoic and arrogant. This movement, the success of the party has been a team effort and will continue to be a team effort going forward. And so I hope Pastor Arter will reflect on these insults and slandering that he is disseminating, and that he will stop, because it's not in anybody's interest.
okay. So this is it's timely that I have you on, and I will be fair to both you and Pastor Art, because both of you I consider to be dear friends of mine, and Pastor Art is actually scheduled to come on Tuesday next week, April 4th as well. So we will be fair both sides to give your side of the story. When you were contending for the leadership, and everybody knows I live in Ontario, I kind of see that on the periphery that's happening between Catherine and Pastor Art running for the leadership contention. I wasn't really zooming in what's happening. I felt like, both of you are my friends, and I take that it was a friendly contest between the two of you, even though you're giving it your best and he was giving it your best. so I don't have any idea what happened during the leadership election. Was it friendly? Was the contention for the leadership seat not so friendly? Was this if it was not so friendly, is this a spillover? Because I don't have at all any idea how did the
Sure, yeah.
leadership
No.
uh,
Certainly. It was very friendly. I mean, it was, uh, we had 5 debates. We traveled together in some instances. We hugged on stage, hugged before and after, I think um, every single debate. We were aligned on many issues. The last debate, I did challenge Archer a little bit because Archer has a tendency to embellish and to use um, allegory and very graphic comments about how he wishes to fight back against the government. He often talks about lions and snakes and vipers and cock whatever.
like a parable?
Uh, yeah, he speaks about that often. He talks about the government raping people, and he's very graphic in that. And I did make a comment at the last election or the last leadership debate, because that he was inciting violence. And I have concerns about some of what Archer says, because not everybody comes into this movement or hears the same words and understands what exactly is meant by it. And I believe that we need to, part of the Independence Party message, the big part of it, is that we want to have a referendum so that we can leave Canada. And that's the core message of the Independence Party. But we do have other very good policies, and our platform is great as well. And we can get into that later. But we need to be advocating and demonstrating as leaders a peaceful legal position and solution for the people of Alberta. And I found the way he spoke to be violent in some cases, and so my comments were directed at that, in that he needs to be careful if he's going to be leader of a party, and that he needs to use language, in my opinion, that is not so offensive. Um, he's now using that debate specifically against me, and that's fine. He can have his own opinion about that. But the debates were all very cordial and all very friendly, and anybody can look at them online. In fact, many of the members that were witnessing, many of Art's supporters, in fact, had said multiple times throughout the debates that they wished that we could have a co-leadership party so that both of us could be leaders.
Mhm.
And um, and that
Sort of
was,
like one is full throttle and the other one kind of slow down to balance it out. Maybe that's what the people are thinking about.
potentially. I mean, you would have to ask them, but many people and expressed that sentiment to not only myself but also to the party. And you know, I've always been a supporter of Archer in respect of his personal legal battles that he's faced throughout the COVID with all the tickets. And in particular, I supported him in a press conference, and I think it was in January or February this year, where I attended a press conference on behalf of Lawyers for Truth, in support of Archer and calling out the government with respect to them proceeding with the charges, in particular the Coots charges that he's been fighting in court and now awaiting a decision. I understand it's coming out in May. Me and Lawyers for Truth have always supported Archer in this, and so the fact that he's now taking this tactic and not properly self-reflecting on his own behavior and considering what the members see. The board was telling him for months that he needed to speak about the platform, about the principles of the party. It wasn't an either or scenario. It wasn't you can't speak about God. It was never that. It was, can you also speak about the party? And that never happened. And he refused to. And rather than deal with it in a mature manner, what he's done is completely flipped it and made it so adversarial that he was impossible to deal with. And he would not consider any point of view that was not his own point of view. And that truly is sad, and that is not what a leader should be exhibiting.
So there's so much to unpack. I have three questions in my mind already. I'll take it one at a time. Again, I'll be very fair to you and to Pastor Art. I'll put on that neutral media hat now that I'm gonna have Pastor Art as well on Tuesday. But let's be fair with the questions. I will have some friendly questions and also direct questions for both of you and Pastor Art when I have him on Tuesday. First of all, when we talk about, let me just extend the timer here so that we're not going to be interrupted by a break. When we listen to Pastor Art, he grew up from behind the Iron Curtain, and he is a warrior. When we hear him being very graphic with his analogies and his parables of snakes and vipers and lion, I know that you, Catherine, are also upset and angered by the atrocities that the government has inflicted upon our ordinary Jane and Joe Canadians. But maybe you have a different style on how to express your anger, and Pastor Art is a little bit more vocal and direct. Do you think this is just a difference between the two style? I have two other similar questions, not similar, but just based on your opening, I have two more questions. So we'll probably do short answers if possible. So that's the
Sure.
first. Yeah.
Well, it's clear Pastor Art and I have very different styles. It's very clear. Archer is bombastic, and he thrives in that sort of excitement of getting the crowd riled up and making these statements that are, they sound great, and they might be motivating, but there's really no substantive action behind them other than a claim that he will, tear people apart, because he's a lion and whatever else he says. I see myself as more, I guess you could say calm, but at the same time, I have expressed very loudly my disagreement with the government and the courts in particular, and I've been very forceful with my words. I do believe that fundamentally, though, we have very different styles of communicating our message. That's definitely true.
Yes, but would it be fair to him being bombastic and very graphic in his speech because of the anger and the passion and the energy from his spirit? Are these words coming out from Pastor Art analogies and graphic words to rally people's awakeness to the kind of atrocity that we're experiencing? Is it fair to characterize those as violent, in your opinion?
Well, I think you have to be careful who your audience is. By and large, I don't think art advocates for any violence, and but I think you have to be careful with how you speak about certain things, because you have to meet your audience where they're at, and everybody, there could be people hearing that message that could misconstrue it. And so I think you have to be very careful with your words, and not only for people who may take your message inappropriately and take action as a result, But also, I think that, that sort of rhetoric is not necessarily a good opening negotiating tactic when you're trying to affect change, especially change that involves legal changes that are required. I don't think that sort of language resonates with the majority of the population.
Okay, so I think that's a difference in opinion when it comes to rhetoric. I also came from a very totalitarian type country back in the 80s, and f- f- you probably have audience that are vast in array in diversity. So there are probably audiences, members of the audiences, who feels like that's pretty, this those are analogies and parables. He's not being insightful of violence and hatred, and that's how Pastor
Well,
Art.
he is inciting hatred. I mean, he's concocted this story about one of our members of our board that is transgender. She has been she's the longest standing board member of the party. She's been there for years. And for him to concoct this ridiculous narrative that this was spearheaded by this transgendered individual is a blatant lie. And I'm sorry, but I can't stand for that. I mean, the Independence Party is a party that believes in the human dignity of everybody. I mean, I've been very vocal with my views on whether or not a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I've been very vocal stating that I don't wish for your personal life to be part of my personal life and vice versa. I don't at all agree with the grooming and the sexualization of our children and where this is going. And neither does this person that he speaks of in a derogatory manner. And it is absolutely ignorant and unbecoming of somebody who is seeking to be a leader in any movement or to lead or to be elected as an MLA in this province. It is unacceptable.
All right, apologies that we went overtime on this segment, but don't go away, folks. We'll be right back very shortly.
Imagine that the power grid was totally wiped by an EMP weapon of an enemy state. Your stress level will go to the roof, your patience will be tried, you will have to think about both your own and your complaining children's survival. If you don't survive, your children won't when they are left on their own. Teach your children how to have the mentality of being survivors through a fun, children-friendly guided outdoor adventures with basic survivor mindfulness integrated in the fun outing activity. Call my friends Nell and Victoria, who are experienced survivors. Call them at 905-252-8009 or email them at northernpacificcottages@gmail.com. A disturbing news. Doctors administer certain drugs even after the family have rejected it. Why? Because hospitals can charge $3,000 a pop for it. Meanwhile, they hid the fact that cheaper alternatives are available and it only costs cents. Do you know if you are paying the right price for your current prescription? Have you researched if there are cheaper yet equally effective alternatives? Call Shinlaza Pharmaceuticals at 1-800-206-0051 or email at info@shinlaza.com for a free consultation. Shinlaza Pharmaceuticals is owned and operated by a freedom fighter of the Freedom Community in Ontario.
Welcome back. This is Freedom Fighter Radio, coast to coast. We're coming to you live from Ontario and Alberta. Our special guest is Katherine Kowalchuk. She was the contender for the leadership of the Independence Party of Alberta, and she is running as an MLA for her riding of Olds-Didsbury-Three Hill. I forgot the second name.
Didsbury.
Didsbury and Three Hill. And it was very timely or untimely that the events of recent days, just 2 days ago, when the Alberta Independence Party actually kicked out Pastor Art as the leader, as a member of the party, and who was elected as a leader. Before the break, we were talking about the fairness on the characterization in both ways. So let's bring back Katherine Kowalchuk, our honored guest, the leader of Lawyers for Truth, a founder and lead and president of Lawyers for Truth. So, as a follow-up question, Catherine, we talk you before the break. You were saying yes, this person is transgender, but she is not, or he or she is not. This person is not pushing transgender agenda, and she is just she's keeping it private. So we will be fair, if that person is not pushing her transgender agenda, bringing that up as a factor in this debate probably is unfair. But talking about unfair, wouldn't you say that it's unfair for a democratically elected leader to be taken out of the party by boards when the membership is the one who said, we want this person as our leader? Is that constitutional to political parties?
Well, the party's bylaws allow for the removal of a member when they breach their bylaws. And so the board had, I believe, the authority to do so under the bylaw. There's two mechanisms for somebody to be kicked out of the party. Well, for Art to have been his membership revoked, which was what the motion was, I understand. One is to remove him as a member by virtue of his conduct, and that's what the board did. The other is having a leadership review and vote. Now, you'll have to talk to the board in terms of why they chose the timing that they did. I mean, this could have gone to a leadership review as well, I guess. I think, however, whatever happens with this party, I hope that the new board looks at the bylaws and makes sure that the process that they wish to have occur actually occurs. And this is a good learning opportunity for the party. But certainly the board was within their purview to make the decision that they did based on the information that they had regarding the conduct.
Sorry, I stood up a little bit to close my window. It's getting really cold
Oh,
here.
that's okay. That's okay.
I had my headphones on. I just had to reach out for the window.
Now, do I wish,
Go ahead.
ideally it could, it would have been, I guess, preferable to have a leadership race and a vote. That didn't occur in, sorry, not a leadership race, but a leadership review and a vote. That didn't occur. You have to refer to the board for more information about that. I was not privy to those conversations. Did not participate in the vote at all, and or was so you have to talk to the board, and I encourage you to do so, because
Yeah.
this information is we can only move forward and grow as a community and learn, and if we understand what the truth is, and these issues are brought to light. So and so that's what I hope will happen going forward.
I would appreciate if you can refer me to any member of the board that was pertinent to this exchange and this process, and I would love to have them on. But in general conversation, and from a perspective of a lawyer such as you, Catherine, do you think that it is fair for a party not to discriminate between regular members and elected members of the leadership of the party? And I agree with you. I think the leadership review should have come first before revoking membership, because if you revoke the membership, could Pastor Art and Bob Leon, could they still participate in the general meeting on Saturday?
Well, Art won't be able to participate. Bob is still a member of the party, I understand. He may be running in as a candidate in the riding he chose. So Art will not be able to participate in the annual general meeting. I think, Joe, you have to talk to the board about this, but what I see is blatant disregard for the party members, all of the party members, and for the and to the independence message. And I think the damage actually that has been done. Many people that we spoke with, that I had spoken with, I mean, I wasn't involved with the party for many months. Like I said, I basically took a hiatus from September to March. I was going to run as an independent candidate. And I came back because, of the relationships that I had built, and because I am committed to the independence message and the platform. And it wasn't, contrary to what is being disseminated by Archer right now. This was not an infiltration. I had no other agenda other than to run to represent my clients. And any insinuation to the contrary is slanderous and it needs to stop, because it's not true. And so, I hope the party will recover from this in whatever shape it takes. The board is now facing an election. They always were. The election of the board members will happen this Saturday at the annual general meeting, and I encourage everybody to attend and to exercise their voice. I think an interim leader will be eventually appointed for the party, and a new leadership race will present itself. Right, Archer at that point maybe wants to run again. Although I don't know why he would, because I don't think he's made it clear that he had no interest in actually in any of the party policies or advancing them or promoting them.
Well, to be fair, Catherine, so my question is sort of general. I know you cannot speak for the board, but if you ended up being the leader in that last election between you and Pastor Art, you want to be treated fairly by the board as well. And you never know how they're going to treat you. Depends on, whoever is on the board. So this question is from a member, your thoughts about the board, because it feels a little bit suspicious that they kick out Pastor Art just before the general annual meeting, which because his membership was revoked, he wouldn't even be able to defend himself or participate in this dialogue or conversation. Why should he or defend himself with the question, why should he not be kicked out? He cannot give those reasons anymore by taking out his membership. Like I said, maybe the leadership review should happen first, and then if that turns out to be proving that he is not worthy to be the leader of the party, then revoke his membership. From an ordinary person, that was just, I'm thinking that should have been the process, and I want you to weigh in on it as a member of the party, even as a regular member, because you want to be treated properly as well. If in case there's a falling out or there's a conflict between you, if you become the next leader, between you and the board, is that a fair question?
I think it's totally fair, Joe, and I think I don't know the firsthand dealings. I only understand this from what I've been told. I was not participating before this. There were many attempts, I understand, to have discussions about the concerns the board was having. I mean, Archer not only answers to the members, but answers to the board as well. And in essence, he was insubordinate in respect of his job description and what he was doing. And in fact, I think you might say that he was, his actions were not in the best interests of the party whatsoever. It would be the same as had I been leader and I used the Independence Party platform to fundraise for Lawyers for Truth. That's inappropriate and it's unacceptable. And that sort of behavior is not, it cannot occur within a party. And I think, and again, you'll have to speak to a member of the board for their position, but I suspect that their position was that they needed to take swift action because the weekend leading up to this termination, revocation of membership, there were countless instances where Archer was disparaging the board and making public statements that were not in the party's interest. Would say, I was at an event with him on Saturday where he said out loud that he would not work for the party. I, as a member, have very deep concerns about that, about that sort of statement, because his whole job is to work for the party. That's what his job is. And you can still talk about God, and you can still talk about your story, and you can still rev people up in the Pastor Art way. But your job is to be there as a representative of the party and to promote party policies. He was not doing that, and in fact, causing further damage to the party. And so I think the board needed to act swiftly in that, and they did.
And I thank you, Catherine, and appreciate your patience that we are talking about this, because when we booked this interview, it was the primary purpose is to talk about your run, but unfortunately we cannot. This is part. This is part of your.
Oh, I
Of
understand.
your
I
yeah.
understand.
This is part of your
Yeah,
run.
I mean, I don't want to be talking about this. I mean, I wish that things could have unfolded differently. I wish that Archer could have been a team player. I wish that he would have heeded the concerns of the membership that was being just brought to the board, saying, when is Art going to talk about the party and the policies of the party and a
All right. So.
solution?
Mhm.
When is he going to do that? And he wouldn't do it.
Sorry to interrupt there, but you mentioned that a couple of times that Pastor Art was being told by the board that yes, you can talk about everything that you talk about, but include. I think this is what I understand what you're saying. Include the party platform when you speak. Promote the party platform when you speak as the leader of the party. Can you tell me one very important aspect of the party platform that you feel that he is omitting in his speech that's most important for the party?
Well, I mean, I haven't listened to all of Pastor Art's speeches, right? So certainly, um, the ones that I have listened to, the most recent being on Saturday, there was no mention about any of the party platform. I mean, there was no mention about the referendum on independence. There's no mention about our position on healthcare or government accountability. Like, I think he may have spoken about the fact that we don't have a party whip policy, that all MLAs are encouraged and expected to vote their conscience. He may have touched on that, but apart from what we have set out, um, he was not speaking about it. And so, I mean, we all know what the story is with Pastor Art, and his experience is very enlightening for people, especially in Canada, who don't understand the dangers and the tyranny of communism. And his message is extremely important. But it was not fulsome, and it was not in keeping with the elements of the Independence Party, the key one being the referendum on independence. I mean, I've heard him say on other occasions that he supports a referendum, but the message was not consistently relayed to the members. And you have to understand that from my anecdotal perspective, we have to reach at least 75% of Albertans with our message in this province. Most people, if they do know that an election is occurring, many don't know the difference between a federal election or a provincial election. Many don't understand how the voting happens, how an MLA is selected, how a party runs. So many people are disengaged from the whole electoral process, and that has been the result of conditioning over many decades. I mean, I was part of that. I didn't pay very much attention to politics, although I did have a keen interest in it and was the nominated candidate to run for the federal Liberals in 2015. I did not end up running due to personal circumstances in that case, but most people don't have an interest and don't understand what the process is, or why our policies are so different, and what makes us different than the other parties like the NDP and the UCP or the Liberal Party, or we don't have a Liberal Party here in Alberta, but with those two main parties in
There's
Alberta.
no
And
liberal
so
party. I didn't know
so
that.
there so there's more information. Like our job as a new party, as a young party, is to educate and disseminate this information to the people of Alberta, so that they understand what the benefits of our platform is. And that wasn't occurring. I mean, the story is very important. The story of his experience. I always enjoyed his bringing God into the conversation, because I do believe this to be a spiritual war that we're fighting right now,
Yes.
and I always enjoyed that. What was lacking in the message was the actual promotion of the party, and he has one job to do, had one job to do as leader, and he was not fulfilling that obligation. And rather, instead of looking at that, at the criticism that he was receiving as an opportunity to reflect and possibly augment what he was saying, he chose to rather attack and accuse people of muzzling him for daring to suggest that he needed to broaden the message.
Okay, so those are fair statements from an immigrant Canadian who've been living here for almost 30 years. I was exposed to Philippine politics, and it's totally different when it comes to the party atmosphere, the party culture that we have here in Canada. So I understand when you say that he has one job. First of all, before I continue, when I had Pastor Arthur twice after his incarceration, I had him twice on the show. When he already became leader, he on both occasions he talked about referendum on my show. He talked about
That's
how,
perfect.
yeah, so he talked about the referendum. Maybe it's not exactly how the party likes it, and because when we listen from outsiders from Alberta, from Ontarians and other members of the Canadian community, when we think of referendum or the rhetorics when it comes to leaving Canada, I think my impression of how he explains the referendum is that he wants to give Canada or the federal government a chance to change course, and the last resort is the referendum to separate, because I think the rest of Canada feels like, is the Alberta Independence Party a separatist movement, right? So I just want to lay that out for this question. The question is, in Canada, the party politics here that I am starting to understand, you become the leader of a party, you join a party, you get membership, and then you run in a race for leadership. Even if you become the leader of the party, you are a member. And from where I came from, when you become a leader of the party, you have the prerogative to lead the party into the direction as a leader of, what is your conviction as a leader. So
No,
are you
I
saying that in
disagree with
Canada
that.
you cannot have that
Well,
here in Canada?
the will of the party, the will of the members, is what drives the direction of a party, and we are very clear in our party platform and policies of what it is we stand for. And I would disagree with Art's I mean, I'm assuming how you described what he described to you in terms of the referendum and separating. My position is that we're done trying to get a better deal with Canada. I think we've been abused by the federal government, and in fact, I think we have a moral obligation to stop funding our own tyranny. I believe so, and so, but just a second. You know, I believe that the referendum ought to be given to Albertans in order to leave. Many people tried, soften that message with the notion that we'll use that as a negotiating tactic to get a better deal within Canada. I think you would find many members of the Independence Party who don't want to use that as simply a negotiating tactic to get a better deal, but that we actually do want to have our own nation state. And so there is, but that's not to say that a referendum will not result in Alberta remaining in Canada and a better deal for Canada. And a lot of people, or a better deal for Albertans. A lot of people use the experience that Quebec went through with their referendums and how those two efforts were used to negotiate their position within Confederation. And that very well could be the outcome. However, I would be I believe in a stronger position than that, because I actually don't believe that the federal government has any intentions to negotiate anything. And in fact, they've been completely, I think, regime changed, so that it doesn't matter who you vote for, red or blue or orange in that instance, or whatever color you vote for at the federal level. Most of the parties are one and the same, and they are beholden actually to the globalists that have, as Klaus Schwab, have infiltrated our governments. And so we have to be very careful with that. And that's exactly why Alberta needs to leave Canada. I think Alberta needs to leave Canada in order to actually save Canada. And so that would be my position on that. But the party is driven by the members. The party is driven by the policies. And so it was not within the purview of Arter to change direction of the party. And I don't even know actually what direction he was taking it, but it was, it was a platform for him, I think, I think he used it for his own platform and for his own purposes, and not actually for the members of the party.
There's an internet problem. So after the full episode, please stick around for like 2 minutes to upload your local. What StreamYard's doing is downloading your side and my side, and it will be uploaded at the end of the episode, so that we have the full episode. I just just a technical thing, because I didn't hear 25 seconds of your talk there. I heard the last part. So with what I understand, our internet seems to be choppy today. But with what I understand, with your segment, you were saying that he, as the leader, does not have a purview or a prerogative to lead the party in his direction, because the members decide the direction of the party. But there are a lot of new members, right? There are a lot of new members in this party. You said before. All right, we are going to take a break in half a minute. Before you and Pastor Art became involved in the Alberta Independence Party, there was how many was the member? 1,500 members?
Well, when I joined, there was like 300.
300.
I think by time Pastor Art had joined, there was over 800 members, and then by time the leadership race came around, there was 1,500 people eligible to vote. So there would have been probably more than that would have continued to become members of the party. They weren't eligible to vote in the leadership, and then the membership, of course, has grown to, I believe I think it's around 3,000 right now.
3,000 right now. So maybe another 1,500 was added to the party after Pastor Art already became the leader of the party.
I believe so. Yeah.
So when you have a dilution of the original members of the party and now a lot of new members to the party, would it be fair to say that the party, probably with the new demographics within the party, they maybe a referendum needs to have within the party to reevaluate or reassert what the party platform is, because there's so many new members, and if there's a lot
Well,
of new members.
you would think that when people join a political party, and they're informed about the merits of the political party, that they're joining because they understand the platform and the policies that the party has. So I don't know exactly. So I would make that as a first assumption. Now, you're right. There could be an inswell of the demographic of the party that does not believe in independence or the referendum, or elements of our platform. And certainly it's within the purview of the members to bring forward changes for policy. There's a mechanism to do that. And the summer before, in July and August, before the actual leadership vote took place, there was a policy. There was an opportunity for members and constituency associations to be involved in putting forward different policies, or varying them or repealing the policies that they felt no longer served the purpose of the party. So there is that mechanism within the party to do that. And I anticipate that this party will go through that once this AGM. People were provided an opportunity to do the same thing for this AGM. There was a process in place. I believe either this constituency association had to forward it as being voted on, any policy change, or a member could put forward a policy change upon getting 7 signatures, and assuming that they met the deadline so that they could meet the deadline for the annual general meeting. And so those mechanisms are available to the members of the party. And so definitely parties evolve over time, definitely, but it's not in the purview of one person to direct the course of a party. He or she is beholden to the job description of promoting the party and the policies currently in place.
Yeah. So when people are joining a party, I think there are 2 reasons. First, like you said, maybe we would like to think that people, when joining a party, they understand the policies and the platform of the party. But in practice, I think a lot of people join a party because they are attracted to whoever is the charismatic leader or the person that they hear. And a lot of people don't understand that in Canada, you vote for the party, you don't vote for the person. And from where I came from, because we have an American style politics in the Philippines, people are attracted to the person, and the person kind of decide what is the platform of the party, like I said earlier. But when people are coming in droves to join the party, isn't it fair to say that many of those who joined was because they're attracted to the personality and the messages that Pastor Art were delivering in his speeches?
I know Pastor Art's claiming exclusive credit for bringing all these people to the party. And did he bring people to the party? For sure. For sure he did. I mean, I'm not going to guess how many he did or didn't, or what the reasons were why a person joins the party. I would presume when you're joining a party like the Independence Party that you're able to distinguish between a Federalist Party or a federal-minded party and a party like ours that is seeking to separate from Canada. So, you'd have to solicit the members. Of course he was part of growing the party, and I'm not taking that away from him, but he was one person, and there were our army of volunteers and constituency associations, and members that were pulling that load with him.
Okay, yeah, and that's a fair statement. It's not only one person. Um, um, something very important came to my mind while you're talking, but there's so many distractions that I sometimes forget. The we went over time on this segment. Please don't go away. Please, thank you for your patience, Catherine. We'll just take a short break and we'll be right back.
Just because it's a seller's market, it does not mean that it's not a good time for you, the buyer, to get into your dream home. The seller's market presents a unique opportunity not available during the buyer's market. Find out for yourself. Get the professional advice of an experienced, honest, Christian freedom-loving real estate professional. Call my friend, our sister in the fight for freedom, Madam Cheryl Severance of Century 21 at 905-646-2121, or check out her website at cheryl-severance.c21.ca. Fund the truth. Fund the unacceptable fringe views of the Freedom Fighter radio broadcast. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada and also donate $3 per month and help us keep going and pushing back against the lies, the hate, and the fear-mongering of the legacy media. Patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Your $3 per month will help us set fire on the lies of the tyrants, the technocrats, and the internationalist social engineers. Patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Did you hear about the children's cough syrup shelves? They are mostly empty in the drugstores. Are you concerned? Do you feel the need to stockpile? As the world heads towards uncertainty, with every nation meeting its own challenges, Larks Medical are staged and ready to respond. Go to larksmedical.com. Provide them with your name, phone number, and email, and Larks will respond at their earliest possible availability to find solutions and ensure ample supply for your needs. Or email them directly at info@larksmedical.com. That's info@larksmedical.com.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary, the leader of the Independence Party of Alberta. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show. Immediately out! Immediately go out and don't come back!
This is the last segment, and that was the last break, folks. Thank you for your patience. And I will have to actually pick up my wife. I will be running late, so we have about 10 minutes of this segment. And so let's bring back our special guest, Katherine Kowalchuk, the founder and the president of Lawyers for Truth, and also a member of the Independence Party of Alberta. My last question, and then a closing statement. Thank you for your patience, Catherine. We didn't focus on your run as an MLA on this particular episode. If you feel that we need to do that, I'd like to invite you again to another episode where we can talk exclusively on your run. But this particular episode was taken to a different direction because of the circumstances. Last question from me, and then I'd leave the floor to you to talk about everything you want to talk about. It could be your run, or it could be the situation in the Alberta Independence Party. It's up to you. But last question is regarding the referendum, the platform of referendum for the Alberta Independence Party. When I speak to a lot of people from Alberta in my group chats, I have a lot of group chats where I distribute. Whenever I go live and it doesn't get attraction, I have a distribution system, and part of my distribution system in private chats are Albertans. I sense the temperature on the ground is many Albertans feel like the federal government needs to take Alberta seriously. There are some who are reserved and being identified as first. Some want to use that as a leverage to get a better deal with Ottawa. Independence Party of Alberta really want to be identified as a separatist party based on the policies of the party.
Well, I believe, I'm only going to speak for myself, but I believe that Alberta needs to separate from Canada. When I look at the legal framework, the likelihood of opening up the Constitution, you need 7 out of 10 provinces to agree to open up the Constitution. Certainly the Supreme Court of Canada will be weighing in on that. the Supreme Court of Canada is, by their own words, the most progressive court in the world. They have a progressive agenda, and they become social activists and just another arm of the government rather than doing their role of interpreting the laws. So I don't believe that Alberta will be able to negotiate anything. And so, I mean, I guess you might consider my stance as being separatist, but first and foremost, I want to be holding government accountable, and I don't see that happening, and I don't see people speaking frankly because they're too worried about re-election or whatever, or the mob coming after them for making statements that, and trying to cancel them. So I believe that the only solution that's peaceful and legal is to use the Clarity Act and to use the referendum to separate. And the negotiation upon having a successful referendum would be the division of assets and how this is going to look. So that would be my position on that.
And for the last segment, I would like you to close our episode with everything you want to talk about for a full 2 or as long as 5 minutes if you want. I hope that you feel that both my friendly and my direct questions are at least fair questions that I ask of you today. You are always welcome to guest on the show, Catherine. Like I said, both you and Pastor Art, I consider to be dear friends. You've been guesting on my show from the very beginning, since the early 2021. And so I would want to keep the relationship on both, even though if there's a separation between, within the party of things that you set of beliefs, I really want to continue close friendship with you and also with Pastor Art. So take last segment. Speak from your heart. Talk about your run if you want. If that was the initial intention, the original intention of this episode, but we end up talking about this because of the circumstance of these past 2 days. But the floor is yours. Speak of whatever you want to talk about
Thanks,
regarding this
Joe.
issue or your.
Thanks, Joe. And yes, of course, I also considered you to be a dear friend. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
this isn't personal. This is just what it is, unfortunately. And nobody wanted this. And I wish it could have been different, certainly, because it's not ideal, that's for sure. Um, I want to, like, to the members of the Independence Party, I hope that we can all take a deep breath and properly reflect on individual behavior and come together ultimately and move towards forgiveness and move towards actually strengthening our position by taking this as a learning opportunity to do things better, to treat each other better, and to make sure that reflecting on our individual goals and whether or not they align with joining an organization. If you don't want to join an organization that has requirements for membership or leadership, then don't join it. I do think that the Independence Party will thrive if it can survive this AGM. I'm hopeful that people will be able to come together ultimately, but I'm not going to stop in my fight to hold government accountable and to get in the legislature. I feel very passionately that we need to hold our government to account. We spoke about Nathan Cooper earlier. That's the person I'm running against, who's running for the UCP here. And I want to share with your audience that he and I believe 10 other MLAs met with Doctors Alexander and Hodgkinson and others in 2021, and they were in October or November of 2021, and they were warned against the jab, of promoting the jab, especially as it related to children. And there was an agreement or a statement that information was going to be tabled in the legislature and by an MLA, Shane Getson, and that never occurred. And I firmly believe that any elected current sitting elected MLA who has not spoken out about this is not worthy of re-election, because the harms that the Alberta government has done to all the Albertan people are you cannot quantify them. Not only are they continuing to advocate for the jab, they have a net zero agenda. Both the NDP and the Danielle Smith government have a net zero agenda. They're all supporting of digital ID, and they truly seem to be beholden to their these globalist interests that have infiltrated Canada and really are threatening not only our healthcare sovereignty, but our sovereignty generally. And the words, the empty promises that continue to be made to people, especially by Danielle Smith, with her agreeing to or wanting to or suggesting that she would be speaking with the Crown prosecutor, as has come to light recently with the taping that Pastor Art made of Danielle Smith, although I understand she did not know that she was being taped or recorded. So that's unfortunate. But at the same time, Danielle Smith has not delivered, in my opinion, to the Albertan population, and I think will continue to lead Alberta down a path where net zero becomes the ultimate goal, and that our oil and gas sector in particular and our agricultural industry will be significantly harmed by these ridiculous, bogus climate change policies that have absolutely no basis in science and are actually wreaking havoc on the Alberta industries and Alberta families. And it's time for the Alberta population to elect people to hold the government accountable, in my opinion. There's a lot that an independent candidate can get done as an elected, even one person. There are examples of independent members putting forward private members' bills receiving unanimous consent. That happened a few years ago with MLA Drever, who put forward a private members' bill with respect to the Residential Tenancies Act and allowing people who are in domestic violence situations be relieved of their obligations to their landlords for fleeing domestic violence scenarios. So there are mechanisms for independent MLAs to have make true meaningful change in the legislature and to hold the government accountable. And in Alberta, there's a lot of fear rhetoric going around about vote splitting. I don't believe that's the case, and I think if you really need to focus on voting for the best person for the job, somebody that you believe will fight for your rights and for your cause and for your particular issue. And when you're looking for the candidate, in assessing a candidate, I hope that you take a look at what they've done in particular the past 3 years, and that will help inform what type of person you believe them to be in terms of being effective in their stance in opposing what's happening in the legislature right now. So those people who have been fighting have putting everything on the line, including their jobs and reputation. Those are the people that I would trust, because those are the people who have spoken, I think, truthfully and from their heart, and really believe in the freedoms and rights of Albertans, and that you will be able to rely on in their role as your MLA. And so please vote cautiously, and we have to start changing how we vote as well, because the big part of the party policy that I believe in with TIP is that we do have no whip, so that every MLA is entitled to vote their conscience. I think that's very important. even though I do agree with the party policies and platform. We should many backbenchers in the government right now feel or are beholden to the policies and directive of the party only. And I think that by allowing MLAs to vote their conscience, you're opening up or further representation. I wouldn't say true representation, but further representation of the constituents in your riding. And so I don't know what the future is going to hold. I really hope that the AGM can be respectful and that we can have constructive dialogue and that all members' voices are heard. And I hope that we find a way out of this little bit of a issue that this big issue that we find ourselves in right now. But my message is, please don't give up hope. Please, let's work together as a community rather than trying to tear people apart. And let us all reflect on how we can take personal responsibility in that regard and do things better. And Joe, I just want to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Wasn't looking forward to speaking about this. And I wish I didn't have to speak about it, about what has occurred lately, but it is what it is. And I've always appreciated our conversations. So thank you very much. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. There we go. Oh, that's Katherine Kowalchuk, everybody. The founder and the president of Lawyers for Truth.
I'm not the president of Lawyers for Truth. I
You're
am
not?
I
Okay.
am a co-founder. Yeah,
You're a co-founder of Lawyers for Truth. Sorry for making that
that's
mistake.
okay.
Before I let you go, Katherine, just a little bit of housekeeping because you were also your internet, or maybe mine, or doesn't matter who, twice today on this episode it was corrupted and we couldn't hear a portion of what you said. After I go off live, after I end the show, please leave your computer on for maybe 10 minutes. And
Sure.
there's an option to upload. What happened with StreamYard, it downloads locally your camera to your computer. And after the show is over, when we end the broadcast, there's an option for you to upload your local recording to the StreamYard so that when it's pieced together, all of those missing parts will be reintegrated to the full episode. But after that, sorry, I have to squeeze that in. Thank you, Katherine, for being a friend of the Fighter Radio. Thank you for being honest and candid today. And like I said, I was hoping that we focus on your candidacy on this episode, but because of this turn of events, I'd like to invite you again, talk about your candidacy and focus on that in another episode, because today, we kind of veer into a different. But our guest tonight was Katherine Kowalchuk. Thank you, Katherine. God bless you. Please leave your computer for about 10 minutes and click on that load from your laptop or your computer to the StreamYard. God bless you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Joe. Take care.
Take care. Bye, Katherine. There you go, folks. That was Katherine Kowalchuk. And you've been listening to the Freedom Fire. Usually I do an outro, but I run out of time. I'll be late for dear wife, folks, to pick from work. So let's just close with our closing outro video. But before I play that, folks, this Sunday is the next Freedom Roundtable podcast with 6 new participants, except our almost in-house panelist, Dora Gordon from Oakville, Ontario, will also be with us. But the 5 other seats are all brand new. And one of them who will be joining us is a scientist, a mathematician, who was also vaccine injured when he was 4 months old. The theme of the roundtable this Sunday is all about the war on our children. With all of this woke agenda and transgender agenda that's happening in our school, the drag queen story time, abortion is a war against our children, and all of these sexualization and pornographic textbooks that has been rolled out into public school system, not only in Canada but all, all around North America. That is Sunday, April 2nd, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our next Freedom Roundtable Coast to Coast podcast. On Tuesday, we have Pastor Art. So he will have an opportunity, Pastor Art will have an opportunity to share his side of this story. It's very timely or untimely or fortunate or unfortunate, depends on how you look at it, that this is happening right now in the Independence part of Alberta. On Thursday, it will be the son of the pioneer of television in Canada, David Mains, the founder of Roads and 100 Huntley Street TV show that have been running for decades in this country. The founder of Crossroad, David Mains, passed away maybe a little over 10 years ago. But his eldest son, Reynold Mains, and his Reynold Mains, Kathy Mains, will be joining us on Friday, April 6th. April 6th, all the way from where they're living there for years now in to do missions. He is the eldest son, pioneer of television in Canada before there were cable television. During the first rollout of TV, when people are starting to put those bunny ears on people's roofs all across Canada, in those early days of television, there were only one or two channels all across Canada on television, and one of them is Rhodes, 100 Huntley Street. David Mains was the pioneer of television in Canada, and his eldest son will be joining us April. The establishment evangelical across Canada and its reaction on the atrocities against the Christian community all across Canada. We have arrested more pastors in Canada, more than communist China has arrested in their history of their atrocity against Christianity. Those are some of the many things we will talk to Reynold Mains about. So, folks, those are the dates. Thank you for all those who join us on the comment section. Debbie Matters, Yeg Freedom. Sorry that I was not able to get on to your comments today. Melissa Macron is in the house, and there's many more that I cannot see on my. So I'll put some of your comments as I outro, and thank you again to Catherine who joined us on for 10 minutes after the broadcast is ended. So I'm gonna end it right now with our outro, and thank you for joining in. Share, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Freedom Fighter Radio, what is up? Whoa!
Shout out to Freedom Fighter Radio. And Joe, you're doing great work, brother, and I love it. All right? Always.
All right, folks. I don't know what's happening. All right, folks. I apologize to all of our comments. I'm trying to put your comments up. Yard is dysfunctional. It's not going up. So apologies to all our audience member who has left your comment. Will still be visible on the platform you join us in from. Whether you are leaving these comments on Rumble, Odyssey, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, the comments will still be on those platforms. I'm just not able to put it out here. So God bless you all. See you next time. Night.